Welcome back, guys. This is the sixth video tutorial of Core Java. And as previous discussion, we have discussed about the strings and what are the methods of string and what is string constant, pool and all. So now we are going to create our own immutable class, like how string class is behaving the same way. We're going to create our own immutable class. And please make sure, guys, that this will be the very important question in your interviews. And the people who is taking interviews, they might ask to create your own immutable class. How you actually going to create an immutable class. And before going to create immutable class, first we can discuss about one important concept about final keyword. So for that, I'm just creating a new package. Inside that, I'm just creating a package called final package, and in that I'll be creating a class called final test. Final test is a class which is used for implementing our final test cases. So there is a final keyword in Java. This keyword actually used for different levels. One is class level we can able to apply, or method level we can able to apply, or variable level we can able to apply. So if you implement final variable within a class level, so it means that this class will not able to extended by other class. So this will actually restrict to extend other classes. So we can test that even. So I just created a class level final keyword and we can test it. Final child test. So I'm just creating a child class for final test. So the way to extend this class we already know in inheritance. The way to do this, extends our final test. If you see, it is showing some error saying the type final child test cannot subclass the final class test. The reason is the final class will not allow you to inherit. Suppose if I just remove this final keyword here, if I just remove it, then there is no problem at all. It is simply allowing to extend. So I'm undoing this. So this is the way of declaring the final class, and this will not allow you to extend any other subclasses. So this class we no longer required. I'm just editing this because we no longer require that class. So we have tested that the final class, what are the class we created, so that will not be extended to some other class. That is one thing. So to check this, if there is a variable, suppose if name you have, so string name we have. So if I don't want to, and there are some methods we have, suppose public edit name, which is actually taking name object, and I'm just creating this not name equal to name. Remember this keyword we already covered. So this dot name is used for, this dot name is actually pointing to the class variable, and this name is referring to parameter. So this is about this, and this dot name is actually pointing to string name. Let me mention the return type for this method. So this is about it. So this dot name is mentioned into class instance variable, and this assignment variable is referring to pointing variable, the parameter variable. This is the standard way of writing industry. In everywhere in industry will be used to write this way. So now it is actually allowing me to edit this variable with the method called edit name. So now I don't want to edit other methods to be from because I don't want to edit other methods to be for name attributes. So the way to do this is I'm just making this value as final. I'm just putting that keyword as final. Now it is showing the error. So the earlier, before adding final keyword, it doesn't show any error. I'm just adding a final keyword. Now it is showing error. It is saying the final field final test name cannot be assigned. The reason is, as you declared this variable as final, so it is not allow you to assign any value. So the way to do this is like this method will not allow, so we don't just undoing it. So this method is not allowed. So the way to allow, I'm just commenting this block of code with the multi-line comment. So because this is not anyhow useless, it is not going to be edited. So the way to modify this value is, the only way is to implement is doing constructor. So I'll be taking same constructor argument. So we have covered the parameterized constructor. So this parameterized constructor looks like, and we'll be doing same thing. See, now you don't see any errors over here. This is called succeed. So there's no errors. So the way to declaring final variable is this, and this is called as blank variable. If you have a variable which is not assigned, suppose even if this implementation is also not there, and if this implementation also not there, and if you're declaring a variable as a final, and if it is not assigned anywhere in the class, that is called as blank variable. You can remember this keyword. See, now it is telling the blank final field name may not have been initialized. So it is the name blank final field is called final variable. Any variable which is declared as final is called blank variable. So the way to initialize a blank variable is about initializing through constructor of particular class, whatever the class it is, and these how we can assign a final variable, and we can reuse this. And this is about it. This is about the final keyword. Now we can go back to the our immutable class creation. I'll be closing all these files. So now we can go back to the immutable class creation, like how string is functioning. So for that, I'll be creating a new class called employee. So I'm trying to make closing this class as well. So I'm just created a class which is employee. So I'm trying to make immutable class. So remember, if you want to make immutable class, there are two things you have to remember. One is our class will not allow you to extend other classes. Suppose other classes will not, they are trying to extend our class, so this is not allowed. So that is a one point in immutable class. The other point will be like if any variables within the immutable class will not directly modifiable by other classes. Suppose if we have a variable called string emp name, so this variable outside classes will not able to modify. Now you're getting right why I explained the final keyword before this topic. So now we are going to implement the same. So the way to restrict our class to not extend to other classes is declaring as final keyword. So this way other classes will not able to extend our class. They just need to use our class. And the way to restrict an employee emp name as not modifiable is simply like adding final keyword. And now it is called as blank variable. For remembering purpose, I'm just renaming this value as employee immutable so that you can able to remember easily. The way to rename the file is just go to here, right click on file and refactor the options, just rename it immutable. I'm just renaming this file because you can clearly understand what this file will do. So making employee immutable class as final because it does not allow to extend other classes, and I'm just making all the attributes, what are the attributes I have, I'm just making them as final because they don't want to modifiable by other classes. So as we are already aware, this is a blank variable. This variable is called blank variable, and we can able to assign that value within the constructor alone, nothing else. So I'm just creating constructor for that. It's a parameter constructor. it's taking emp name, and here I'll be assigning that value. This start emp name equal to emp name. So I just assigned the blank variable, blank final variable here using the constructor. So now the outside classes, they cannot able to extend my class and they cannot able to modify this class, but they want to use this name. So how if they want to read this name, we should allow them to read this name. That is how we will be doing, right? In string classes also, like we can able to read the string, but we cannot able to modify it. That is called as immutable. So for that, I'll be creating one more method called public string get emp name. So here I'm just creating a getter method where I'm returning employee name. So this is way we can able to create our immutable class. And there is one more thing we have to do for this AMP name. I'll show it once we are testing this class. We can show it there. What is the additional attribute or additional access specifier? We have to mention this for this class, for this variable particularly. We can see it once we are testing this class. Now we can create a test class for this employee immutable to test that how this is actually functioning. So I'm just creating employee immutable test. This is actually testing that immutable class. So as we mentioned, immutable class will not allow me to extend this class, right? I'm just trying that first, whether it is allowed me to extend or not. I'm just trying here. Extends, the way to inheritance, it will be inheriting a class to class, will be using extends keyword. I'm just doing that, and I just pasted the employee immutable class name here, and it is giving error saying the type immutable, test cannot subclass of final class employee immutable. It is straightly telling like the final class will not allow you to extend it, so it is not allowed. So the first condition is passed. The second condition will be like, suppose I'm just creating a main method over here to test that. I'm just creating an object for that. I'm just trying to I have created object for that, and it is accessing for it is parameter constructor, and it is asking, see, if you see, add arguments to the match employee method, and it is asking me to add a parameter which is about just adding Nani. So I'm just passing Nani to that immutable class, which is the default the parameter constructor we have. Now I'm trying to modify this emp name. We'll see that how it is. I just pass it that value. I'm just modifying. Suppose if you print this value, right? Suppose if you're trying to print this value using the getter method we have, it will actually print as Nani. You can see that now. The declaration, I don't know why it's not auto-populated properly. One public static void main is given wrong. I'm just regenerating main method which is giving wrong. Instead of that, I'll write it my own public static main string args. I'm just doing the same. I'm just creating this object obj equal to new, which is expecting one value, which is I'm giving Nani. I'm just printing. I'm just calling this getter method to access the emp name. I'm just accessing and I'm just printing it. So the return type of this get name will be string type. I'm just declaring it string emp name equal to obj dot get emp name. I'm just printing that value using sysout control space then emp name. We'll see the output now. So the expected will be Nani should be printed in the console. And Nani got printed. We got success output. And the one more thing I supposed to mention, like we want to add some additional keyword for this employee name. The reason is, so we are not allowing this employee name to modifiable, right? But still, you can able to access that with the obj object. With the obj object, you can able to access the emp name. See, but you're not able to assign the value because it's a final. That's a different story. We'll see that. Chains. I'm just trying to assign that value. See, so this is the way I'm trying to assign that value, and it is telling the final field cannot be assigned. The final field cannot be assigned. So we're actually restricted here to not to modify this emp name, but somehow it is actually showing this value, but it is not able to assign that value. But I don't want to make this happen. I just want to allow them to create an object. I just want to make them to call this get emp name. I don't want to even access this variable. The way to do this is you just need to make this variable as private. We know the access specifiers, right? Different access specifiers, public, private, default, and protected. So I'm just declaring private keyword. So that way it will be, this field will be accessible within this class. Outside the class it won't be allowed. Now we can go here. Now it is telling the field emp name not visible. So if you try to auto populate again, like how we did, obj dot, nothing you'll be getting. Now you're not getting that emp name here, right? In the list, in the suggestion, you're not getting that emp name. So that way we'll be restricting employee name more. So we can retest our example after adding this private keyword. We can retest our example how this functions. So this functioning same. It is giving Nani output. So this is the typical immutable class, the creation. Like the way to do this is, first we have to create a class. We need to make that class as final to not extend other people. That's one thing. And create a variable or instant variables or here within the class, and you need to make them as final and you need to make them as private. The final we are doing is like we are not able to allow them to modify in any way within the class or outside the class. We are not able to allow them. And the other one is we have to make the private to not access them outside. So these are the typical implementation of immutable class. And that's it for now. We can cover other topics later. Thank you guys.